I don't know too much about the Deutsche Bahn BR218, but I do know that this thing is a classic German diesel hydraulic locomotive, and that diesel hydraulics were quite common in Germany. Not counting the prototypes and one locomotive rebuilt from a BR215, 398 examples of this class were built between 1971 and 1979 as part of the V160 family. This locomotive was brought to TrainSim World 4 by a third-party developer called TrainSim Germany, and I think they've made a good name for themselves so far, thanks to their Vossloh G6 and Niedertalbahn add-ons, so things are looking promising for the BR218. This add-on was released on June 26, 2024. Good timing, since it was only 2 days after I got back from Melbourne, Australia. The full price is $26.29 NZD, which is a little bit cheaper than I was expecting. All the previous German diesel locomotives in TSW have only been shunters. More specifically, these are the BR204, BR363, BR365, and Vossloh G6, which makes the BR218 the first big mainline German diesel in the game. By default, the BR218 is only supplied in the standard Deutsche Bahn red livery, but numerous player-made reskins are available to download from the Creators Club. Besides the locomotive herself, this add-on also comes with the N-Wagen coaches and Karlsruhe Kopf cab car. We already had variants of these coaches included with the Bremen to Oldenburg and Mainz to Koblenz routes, but the cab car on those routes is only compatible with electric locomotives. The BR218 comes with a cab car variant that works with diesel locomotives, so the control stand is noticeably different from the Bremen and Mainz cab cars. The BR218 has 2 different transmission gears depending on the type of work she's doing, and the selector switch is located on a panel behind the driver's seat. Using the slow gear results in a higher tractive effort than if you were to use the fast gear, albeit at the expense of a lower maximum speed of 100 km per hour, but this makes the slow setting useful for heavy freight trains. As for the fast setting, this is used when the locomotive's hauling lighter consists, and allows her to reach her full speed of 140 km per hour. The driver's seat can be moved out of the way if you need to walk behind it, as there isn't enough space to do so with the seat in its normal position. I don't recall ever seeing this sort of arrangement in any previous TSW add-on. Elsewhere on the locomotive, some engine room detail is modelled, and although you can see it through these little windows on each side, you can't actually walk through the engine room. Apparently, the CIFA and PZB sounds are recycled from German motive power that we already have in TSW, but if that's true, then it doesn't bother me too much because I always have CIFA and PZB disabled, as unrealistic as that is. As for the prime mover sounds, these were apparently recorded by a driver on a real BR218. An important thing to remember when driving this locomotive is that, whenever you need to open the throttle after coasting or to pull away from a station stop, you're supposed to set it to notch 2 for 5 seconds to fill the transmission with oil. Then gradually open the throttle as the locomotive starts moving, but don't apply too much power too quickly, otherwise the transmission might be damaged. The throttle wheel has 15 notches, and when you return the engine to idle for coasting, the throttle needs to be set back to notch 2 to let the engine RPM run down before you cut power completely. This throttle setup works the same way when you're driving from the cab car end. There's an introductory scenario for the BR218 on the training centre route. This scenario includes instructions on how to do a cold start, which you don't actually get to do in timetable mode. As for normal scenarios and timetable mode, this locomotive is mainly for the Hamburg to Lübeck route, which already appeared in TS Classic before it came to TSW, and that original version includes the BR218 as standard. The TSW version comes with 4 scenarios and only 45 timetable mode services for Hamburg to Lübeck, which adds some welcome, albeit limited, variety to an otherwise bland and unremarkable route. 29 of those services have the BR218 leading, while the remaining 16 have the Karlsruhe Kopf cab car leading. For the passenger side, the BR218 and N-Wagen coaches are mainly used on the hourly RE83 service that runs from Hamburg to Kiel and vice versa via Lübeck. But curiously, this service only stops at one station between Hamburg and Lübeck, namely Hasselbruck. The locomotive also has a timetable mode layer on the Maintalbahn, although this is another route that's considered a dud by me, albeit for different reasons from Hamburg to Lübeck. In any case, the BR218 runs on this route with the Doppelstockwagen coaches from Hamburg to Lübeck, but these coaches have been reused across so many routes at this point that it's not funny. This consist, with 3 coaches in between 2 locomotives, is used for additional RB88 services along the Aschaffenburg to Miltenberg line, as these stop at all stations anyway because the Doppelstockwagen coaches lacks the equipment necessary for the passengers to request a stop. As such, this locomotive hauled consist can't run the faster RE services, which only stop at certain stations on request, although TSW doesn't really have any proper request stop system, not even on the Arosa line. As far as I know, the BR218 doesn't layer onto any other routes besides Hamburg to Lübeck and Aschaffenburg to Miltenberg, which lets the add-on down somewhat. Sure, you can still use free roam mode or the scenario planner to run the BR218 on other routes, but it's not as easy as simply loading a timetable mode service. I still stand by my belief that timetable mode is one of the best features in Train Sim World. At the end of the day, I think Train Sim Germany's rendition of the Deutsche Bahn BR218 isn't too bad, although the value for money is not the greatest. In any case, I think TSW should have more of these challenging locomotives, like the BR218, BR110-3, and Class 101 DMU, to even out the balance against the simple one-handle multiple units, of which there seem to be too many in this game. Examples include the Class 323, Long Island Railroad M9, Deutsche Bahn BR423, London Overground Class 710 Aventra, and ScotRail Class 170 Turbostar. The one major issue I have with this add-on is still the lack of gameplay, and it's unfortunate that, in my opinion, the 2 routes onto which the BR218 layers are both duds in their own ways. Despite the limited gameplay opportunities with this locomotive, I can still recommend it to other TSW players, along with the other add-ons that TSG have made.